For as long as I can remember, it's been an absolute dream of mine to win a Scottish national title. 3 weeks ago, I got within 3 seconds over the half marathon, and today I'm trying again over 10 miles. The only thing standing in my way is this guy who's come 4th at the World Championships twice, and this guy who's ran for Great Britain, and all of these guys who have as good a chance as anyone else. But I'm fit, I'm ready, and I'm excited to get out there. Let's go. So just arrived at Strathclyde Park for the race. This is actually the location of the famous parkrun head-to-head from a few weeks ago. But this time here for my race, 10 miles, and feeling really good, not feeling nervous at all actually. I think when you're fit and you've really done the training and you know you've done everything right, there's no real need to be nervous. You just have to go out there and execute the plan. And actually driving here on my own for a change, I was able to get my Cheesy Hits playlist up full blast, so singing and doing the dance moves in the car, but feeling good, feeling ready to go. Plan will be hopefully to just sit in until 8-ish miles. It's a little bit windy today and there's a little twisty section about 7.5 miles, which I'm historically not great with. So to get past that, still in the group, still feeling good, and then try and make a good move to see if I can win or at least mix it up on the podium with some really top runners. But anyway, Holly's just arrived. She's also racing, by the way. I should have said this long before now. We'll see how she goes, try and get some clips of Holly, but we're both feeling good and ready to go. So I'm just out warming up on the course, testing out how windy it is. The answer is pretty windy. But about 50 minutes before the race, I just like to get out for a 2-mile jog, follow that up with some drills, a 3-minute threshold and 2 by 30-second strides, and then we're ready to go. This will be my 3rd year in a row running this race, which is very rare for me. I don't race that often, so doing the same race 3 years in a row is really a one-off. But I know this course like the back of my hand. The first year I was just coming off an injury and finished 6th in outside 50 minutes. I think I was around 50-40. Last year I was in the middle of London marathon training and didn't taper. Ran it at the end of a 135-mile week and finished 3rd in 49.35. So I definitely think I can go quicker than that. But as with Inverness, this is a race and it's about finishing as high up as possible. And based on what I've seen in the warm-up, all the big names are here. So let's go. Feels like I'm earlier than I usually would be. Like ready, which is good, reduces stress. Aye. We're about 23.5 minutes out. Or not about, we're exactly 23.5 minutes out. Gonna have a Morton caffeine gel, a little bit of caffeine boost with some carbs and some diarrhea relief. Can never go wrong. Also, Body Glide. Anything that's going to ease any unnecessary pain.
Get on those thighs.
Like, honestly, apart from the wind, it's like a lovely day. And the wind should hopefully just be in that first mile or so.
Occasionally feeling for like mid-race?
No, that was a good question. That's exactly what I was just about to say. For Inverness Half, I had a gel at 8 miles, but for 10 miles, don't need that. It's hopefully less than 50 minutes of running. So, just the gel beforehand. I'm all fueled up, had a good breakfast this morning, and also a Morton Solid bar about 2 hours before. So, I'm good to go. Food yesterday was good, and yeah, no need for carbs on the go. The only reason for that would be stomach training if I was training for a marathon, but I'm not right now. So I'm just going to focus on this race and do what's right for that, which is not having a gel. So I headed out for my 3-minute threshold, and although I sort of cheated and ran the first 2 minutes with the wind at my back, this felt absolutely great. I looked at my watch after about 30 seconds and it was 5:07 per mile pace, which is a pace I would never see warming up in training. Those stiff legs that you get in a training block really just disappear when there's any sort of race day adrenaline. Also, here's Dean's shadow. The original clip looks like this for about 2 minutes, but still, I want to say a massive shout out to Dean. Without him, there would have been no race video, although I really do wish he'd told me that he had to get out the saddle to catch me up on this threshold, because that would have been a massive confidence boost. Anyway, threshold done, 5:05 per mile, which is about 3:10 per k. 3-minute threshold done, take about a minute and a half recovery and then do 2 by 30 seconds with a minute recovery. If you look really closely here, you can see proof that I actually did do this first 30-second stride. But in all seriousness, these strides were the first time I really realised that the wind would play a big factor in this race. I somehow averaged the same pace for both out and back strides, but I was getting blown around a lot on the first one, and knew at that point that nobody would want to be at the front pushing the pace in the first mile. I always finish my warm-up with a really fast stride where I'm running around 95% speed for around 5 to 10 seconds. The goal of this is just to make race pace feel slower, and then it's time to get going. So the race went off, and as predicted, everyone was just sort of looking at each other and trying to get shelter from the wind. I know I keep going on about it, but Strathclyde Park is very exposed, and the wind did play a bigger factor than anything else when it comes to how this race played out. So we get through the first K in 3:13, which is 51:46 pace for 10 miles. Spoiler alert, I did not run 51:46, but someone in our front group sees this split and makes a hard move and gives us our first 2 minutes and 50-second K of the race, or 4:39 for the mile split, which is very quick and gets the lead group down from the entire field of about 350 people to a group of 6. This was one of the strangest races I've ever been a part of, because half of it we were watching each other, trying to fight for space at the back of the group, and half of it someone was on the front absolutely nailing it. This is now around halfway, and I'm not sure if you can tell from this clip, but I am like 5k race pace here, just trying to stay attached, because the whole race up until this point felt really good. And although I was stretching to stay on the group at points and not sure who was going to try and sprint off the front next, it didn't feel too hard and was probably more of a mental thing because it felt so fast. Our 9th K was the second of the 2 minute and 50-second Ks, which gave us a 6th mile of 4:36, which is 46-minute flat pace. Spoiler alert, I did not run 46 minutes flat, but the next time I run a 10-mile race, watch out, Emil. So just for some clarity, Holly hurt her ankle a few miles in, and when it hadn't recovered about 6 miles, she dropped out for the first time in 200 career races. This was definitely the right decision, with the main goal being the London Marathon in 4 weeks' time. Also, while I've got your attention, I just want to say a huge thank you to everyone who sent in race footage. You're all absolute legends. And don't forget to subscribe if you're having fun. And even if you aren't having fun, it might help. Anyway, back to my race. So we get through 6 miles, and as we're approaching 7 miles, we turn back into the wind. And you guessed it, the brakes get slammed on. The 4:36 is immediately followed by a 4:57. And the 12th K is the slowest of the race at 3:16. Unfortunately, this is around the point where things start to go a little bit wrong for me. I said before the race that the plan was to get through the twisty section at 7.5 miles without getting dropped, and I almost did. This section lasts for around 600 metres, and I probably got through 400 metres of it before a couple of the guys went hard off the front. I tried everything to stick on the back of them because I knew if I got dropped here, I had no chance of fighting for the win. However, I wasn't quite able to stick on and ended up getting dropped by 10 or 20 metres. However, once we hit the wider path again, I was able to work my way back onto the group over about 1k up to 13k, and actually ran a 2:57 here into the wind. However, by this point, I was the one of the 4 who was clearly hanging on a bit. I'd had to work harder than the other 3 guys into the wind, and once we turned to have it at our back for the last 2k, the winning move was made and I just couldn't go with it. Funnily enough, this is pretty much exactly where my dad made his winning move 2 weeks ago against Holly, so honestly, I should have been ready for it. The last mile was basically just me running as hard and as fast as possible while those guys just pulled away from me, and there was really nothing I could have done about it. So in the end, I was 4th in 48.50, which is 45 seconds better, but 1 place lower than I was last year. So let's go to post-race Ryan for some thoughts. Oh, no, he isn't ready to talk yet. Now he's just talking to everyone else. Here we go. Honestly, like, coming 4th today, I feel so much happier than I did with the 3rd at Inverness. Inverness was a bit like what could have been had I raced it a bit differently. But today was just, yeah, those guys were a lot better than me. I come into the race thinking I could win, telling myself that I could win. But honestly, it's always going to be such a long shot when you've got so many good guys in it. And 3 of those guys were just better than me today. It was like a proper race. Inverness was more consistently tactical. Today was a bit more, we were going and then we were jogging, then we were going again. And like, I'm never going to take the pace into the wind. I just don't think that's a smart decision. And then when we had the wind at our back, other people were making hard moves and it felt like we were like flat out sprinting. But as happy as anyone could ever be with 4th, and there's really not much I could have done. I really gave it everything, even when I got dropped at like 9 miles. Even though that win was away and the medal was probably away, I was still going for it and giving it everything, so not much else I could have done. And the elusive Scottish title will have to wait for another day. So there's a few important stats that I didn't mention in this chat which may help explain why I'm so happy with this result. First is this race started in 2004 and my time today was the 6th fastest ever run on the course. On top of that, this puts me 17th on the Scottish 10 mile all time list, which would have been 15th before the race. And third, ever since I started running properly in 2006, I've run a PB over at least one distance every year. And this race gives me a 20-year PB streak, which honestly is just really cool.
How does it feel that you're still so far away from that and it's the Scottish title?
No, I think that I'm closer than I've been before. I'm up mixing it with those guys. Like, I would have been spat out and back this time last year. 45 seconds quicker than last year. And you can only improve on what you've done before. You need to compare yourself with you. You can't be looking at all these other guys. Second place team,